Welcome everybody to the Goldfishing portion of my Sam Loyal Attendant Commander deck tech. This is a deck aimed at generating food, treasures, and winning out via combat. I've already made a deck tech describing each card in the deck, so if you haven't already seen that, hit the link down below and go watch that first to understand what our goals are. I'm going to go ahead and hop right into the playtesting. So with 37 lands, we ideally like to see 3 lands in our opening hand, but we can function on 2 with maybe a ramp piece in hand as well. I'm already seeing we have 3 lands in hand, so I think we'll go ahead and keep this hand and kick off the Goldfishing. So we're going to go ahead and draw our first card for turn. We're going to play a Savannah, and we don't have a turn 1. Oh, we actually do have a turn 1 play. I think we will play a Mini Partings. We're going to create a food token, and we're going to search for a basic and put that card into our hand. So we're going to go ahead and grab probably a Plains, actually, because I see we have 3 red pips, or I'm sorry, not red, white pips that we need to be accounting for here. So we'll go ahead and go to the next turn. We're going to go ahead and play a Forest, and we do have 2 possible turn 2 plays, Tough Cookie and Griffin Airy. So I think we don't quite have a reason to play Tough Cookie yet. Griffin Airy, I think we'll just get this out early so that we can maybe crack our food once Sam comes out. So we'll go ahead and play Griffin Airy. And say pass, knowing that that will generate us some mana, or I'm sorry, some tokens in the future. Exotic Orchard, so we can tap for both. Now, I think I can cast Sam to make a food, and we can crack it. However, or we can't crack it, we can crack it next turn. But we don't quite have the mana to do all of that, so I think actually what I want to do is probably ramp and play Tough Cookie, because that will use up all of our mana and we can be on curve. So we don't have any life gain off of Griffin Airy, and we'll go to the next turn. Turn 4, we'll play our, well, hold on, actually, let's see. Do we need any pips here? I think if anything, we just need the green, so we'll play the Forest. Then we can animate our creature, or I'm sorry, our foods with Tough Cookie if we wanted to. I would like to get out Sam so that we can maybe just crack a food, and then we get a trigger off of Griffin Airy. We can also, depending on what we want to do here, we can ramp for a basic, or we could exchange 2 foods for a 7/7 or make a bunch of foods. So I think honestly the move here is to get Sam out. He really just sort of benefits us passively, and my only hesitation is I would rather play Return from the Wilds to ramp us again. I feel like ramping is just so good in this situation. So, because then we can start animating some foods with Tough Cookie later on. So actually, let's play Return from the Wilds for 3, and then we have 2. So we can potentially crack a food just to generate a token. Let me resolve Return from the Wilds first. So I think what we're going to do is actually search for a basic. We'll get a Forest, and that will enter tapped. And then we are going to just make a food, actually, because then I can, well, yeah, then we can get the token. Oops, I need to create, wait, is there spider food? Why can I not make a food? Sorry, having some issues here. Oh, here we go. Okay. For some reason, it wasn't generating there. So Return from the Wilds will generate a food to ramp us a basic. And then we're going to use our last 2 to then crack a food, gain 3. So we'll go to 43. And then we will generate a token off of Griffin Airy on our end step. So generating board presence is always good in Selesnya because we can capitalize on that with a combat finisher. So Griffin Airy and Tough Cookie are setting out here. Keep our food in the top right, make sure we're organized here. So I'm going to go ahead and play a Plains. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 mana to play with. Sam is going to cost 3. And then he can make a food that we can crack in our next turn. So what can we do with the food that we are generating? We can animate it with Tough Cookie. We can also play a Trail of Crumbs, and then we can start. Actually, I kind of like drawing cards off of Trail of Crumbs. Whenever you sack a food, you may pay 1. Do we want to sack foods Well, we definitely need to sack one food to generate Griffin Airy. So I'm thinking actually what we do is we play Sam, then we play Trail of Crumbs, and then we sack a food and pay the one to then draw a card. I think that would use up all of our mana. So let's go ahead and do that. Sam comes out in our first main phase. Then we go to combat. We make a food. Then where did it generate? Okay, weird. It generated in the exact same spot I put it in. Okay, so we've generated our food. Now we go into second main phase, probably not attacking yet. And then we now can play Trail of Crumbs for 2. Boom. Create a food. So we're going to create another food. And then what we want to do, so we have 3 foods here. Then we want to then crack one of the foods because now they cost 1 off of Sam. So we'll then crack a food, gain 3 life. And we will then pay the 1 off of Trail of Crumbs. So then whenever we sacrifice food, look at the top 2 cards of your library. You may reveal a permanent card from among them, put it in your hand, and the rest go on the bottom. So we're going to reveal and put into our hand the Gaffer. What a clutch draw there. And we're going to go ahead and bottom that out. And then on our end step, Griffin Airy will trigger and we will make another token. And now we're pretty much set up for a combat finisher, I believe. So then that's all of our mana will go to next turn. So by turn 6, we've got a bunch of creatures on board. Let's see. So if we... Night of the Sweet's Revenge, we can run out, we'll create a food, and then that goes almost mana positive, not quite. We can pay 7, sack it. Creatures you control get +X/+X on their turn where X is the number of foods you control. So we could run this out now and crack it next turn for a giant combat buff, or we could just play Sarah's Emissary to try to get in some early damage. That's definitely a threat that would have to be answered. Alternatively... let's see. So I want to at least play Night of the Sweet's Revenge. I don't want to crack it yet, but I just want to spend the 4 so we can be ready to then sack it next turn. So that would give us at least 3 mana because Sam would generate us a food during combat. So in second main, this we could. So we're essentially only going down 1 mana to play this. So let's calculate 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 mana we have at the moment. So we go down 1 with Night of the Sweet's Revenge. So that means we have 6 to play with, meaning we could also cast Giant Opportunity and the Gaffer. So I think actually maybe we just prep for an absolute swing out turn next turn. So I think that's what we're going to do. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to go Night of the Sweet's Revenge. So that's going to create us a food. Then we are going to, let's see, we have 3 left here, but our foods can tap for mana. So we have 6 mana. So I think we're going to play the Gaffer. The Gaffer, right? 1, 2, and then we tap this for a green, or a white rather. And then I think we save the 2 mana to then draw cards. We actually save 2 mana to draw the card off of the Gaffer, and we don't pay into Trail of Crumbs because that's would it make sense to pay for a mana that we could get for free off of the Gaffer. So then we will end the turn. Sam we're already in second main phase. So then we will tap 2 and then sack both of our foods. Or actually no, we'll sack 1 food during our main phase. That way we get another token. We get a Griffin. And then at the beginning of each end step, if you gain 3 more life this turn, draw a card. And so we will then draw a card off of the Gaffer. And then during our opponent's turn, we will tap birds to then sack another food, I believe. And then we will draw a card. Okay, so now we will head into turn 7, which is looking pretty good so far. So we have, let's see, Trail of Crumbs and Griffin Airy over here. So we can, at instant speed, pay 7. So I think it's actually good because Sam's going to generate some food during combat, and that can tap for mana. So we'll go up 1 mana before we have to activate this. So we'll definitely play Bountiful Promenade. So that goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 mana, 8, 9, and we'll have 10 with the food that Sam makes. So with 10, I think what we do is then cast Giant Opportunity to create 3 foods. And then we will have 5 foods on board. Then that will go to graveyard, and then we will go to, wait, did I make 1, 2? Yeah, 5 foods. So then we will go to combat. Sam will make another food, and then so now we have 6. And again, I think it generated behind here. It's kind of hard to tell. So now we have 6 foods, and we are ready to crack Knight of the Sweet's Revenge. So we will then pay for our food. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, I did not realize, actually, we would technically just play Giant Opportunity for free. We could actually play more value. So theoretically, we could have just played Spider Food in our main phase. So we'll just assume we use that. But then we will crack the rest of this food for mana. And we will then sack Knight of the Sweet's Revenge to then swing out with a giant ton of creatures. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 creatures that each get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 plus 6 plus 6. So that would effectively definitely end one opponent's. And then we would draw a card on our end step. So then we would go next, and we would then play Sarah's Emissary to then have our stuff be unblockable. And we would continue to draw cards with the Gaffer, assuming it was not removed. And so I think we can basically have a lethal board state by about turn 8, turn 9 perhaps. And then let's just see what the rest of the cards, or what 3 cards off the top are. So we would have had enough mana there. We would cast Apothecary White. This would definitely generate us some more foods. And then Archangel of Thune, we could probably just crack all of our foods on like turn 11 if the game was still going, to then put a bunch of counters on our stuff to then rebuild our board. So, and then if we, then you have Academy Manufactor just sitting in the on the bench there, ready to go wild. All right, well, that was a successful first Goldfish. Let's go through another just to see if we can encounter some different scenarios here. Notably, in that scenario, I did not use a lot of removal or interaction with our opponents. It's really, it's a little bit solitary just in terms of how we want to, or not how we want to, but how we are forced to play with this little interaction. So we have 4 lands, and we actually have 5 lands. 2 enter tapped unless we control legendary. So I think what we would do, we're just going to go ahead and keep it. We're just going to roll with it. We'll draw our first card for turn. Let's see. So what do we want to actually get out first? I don't think it really matters. Tap an untapped creature you control to create a food. Let's go the Shire turn 1. Then we'll go to turn 2. I think we don't have a turn 2 play here, if I'm not mistaken, because we want to save Feasting Hobbit for when we have a bunch of foods. So I think we just play Minas Tirith, entering tapped, and pass. Then our turn 3, we can do a couple things. If there's a threat on board, we can do Spider Food to generate us a food. But I think really what we want to do, let's see, that's mana 3 or less. I think we actually want to play Takesha's Welcome. So here's the thing. If we play Takesha's Welcome, we can draw the card off of Sam next turn, but then we don't have 2 foods to play with. So let's think about what next turn, what would we do with 2 food? I think we would actually have an extra mana with Jaheira, and we could have the possibility to play Feasting Hobbit. But I think card advantage is always going to be important, especially with, 3, 6. We don't really need the card advantage, actually. That is kind of a good point. And let's see, because this is CMC 3 or less, so Feasting Hobbit would trigger it regardless. Banquet Guests would trigger it if we cast it for 3. So I think what we do is we actually play... Let's see, because then I'm just trying to think about how much mana we would have next turn. So if we had Sam out, next turn we would drop a land. We would have 2 foods. Then we would drop Jaheira for 3. So we'd have 1 land. So we'd have 3 mana left if we were to drop Jaheira. So then we could play Takesha's Welcome. So I think that's better because then we curve out. So I think we play Sam this turn and say next. Then next turn we'll play Reflecting Pool. And then last turn we made a food during combat. So let's do that. Then we're going to drop Jaheira. And then I think with our... We will go to combat. Sam will make another food. And then on second main phase, we tap both foods and our last land to then play Takesha's... Oh, but I can't... I should have played Takesha's Welcome first. So hold on. Let's go back. Let's redo this turn. Gosh, come on. Tapped out. Here we go. Okay, so this goes back. So we dropped our land for turn. We have not made our second food. So if we go here, we go... Oh, but with Jaheira, I see. We need Jaheira to cast the Takesha's Welcome. Okay, so that's fine. We'll end up doing that. So we'll make the food during combat. We just won't get the extra card off of Takesha's Welcome, but that's fine because we're kind of limited in what we want to do here. And we would tap this differently to then play Takesha's Welcome. All right, and then go next. So turn 5, we drop out. Let's see. So how many are we going to need? I think we dropped the Forest. Currently we have 3 white available, so I don't think colors are an issue. We definitely want to be drawing a card off of Takesha's, so maybe at this point in the game, we could play Feasting Hobbit. Okay, so we definitely want to ramp with Utopia Sprawl and play something that will draw us a card with Jaheira or Takesha's Welcome. So I think we actually have the opportunity to play a Spider Food to force some interaction. The question is, our Feasting Hobbit will consume all of our mana, but it presents a really good threat on board. And so does this. So maybe you actually if we go to combat and let Sam make the food, we have 3 foods to play with, meaning we have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 mana, right? So then we drop Banquet Guests for a lot of... So we would only pay 2 for the Banquet Guests, meaning it would enter as a 6/6, which, that's not amazing. Okay, let's do this first. Let's go Utopia Sprawl. This has to enchant a forest. Oh my goodness. Okay, we're going to tap the Shire. Here we go. I don't think our utility lands are useful at the moment. We can bury 2 mana into this if we want. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think we let Sam make a food, so we'll go through combat. Now we're in second main phase. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 mana. So 8 mana. If this costs only... So we could technically use... We could cast Banquet Guest, Feasting Hobbit, and technically we could tap the Shire to make a food. I think that's actually what we want. So, okay, actually, let's do it this way. We're going to assume we have to use Spider Food to destroy something, and that will actually make us a food. For some reason, Tapped Out does not like to give me my tokens here. Okay. So, boom. We've used 3 mana for that. Let's assume that we tapped these, actually. That's going to then force us to tap these. I'm actually going to... Well, yeah. Okay. Or no, let's do this. Let's assume that we tapped our foods for that. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So now we're going to cast Banquet Guests. So X would be 4, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep. So X would be 4. So we're going to pay green, white. Let's actually go green, white for that. And shoot, I need to keep the Shire on... I don't think I'm going to make... I don't think we're going to curve out, actually, now that I think about it. That's fine. So this will enter. We're going to pay the 2, and then this will be a 8/8 with trample. We can hold 2. So I think we'll actually hold up the 2 just to give this indestructible if somebody tries to remove it. Then we'll pay... I mean, the question is, do you run out the Feasting Hobbit? If I was anticipating a board wipe, I don't think I would run out Feasting Hobbit. However, I think we'll just assume that we can sort of solitaire this where we're powering out as fast as possible. So I think what we want to do is then cast this for 2, Feasting Hobbit for 2. The question is how many foods we want to sack. I think we just sack 2 foods because then it will be an 8/8. And still leave us up some mana. Although we won't run into mana issues, but we will draw a card off of Takesha's Welcome entering. And then wait, hold on. Would that be as this enters the battlefield? Yeah, so we would stack the trigger so we could see the card first. And now Feasting Hobbit triggers on the stack. I don't think we actually need that many lands. However, most of our food, our game plan revolves around food. So let's sack 3 foods. So this will be, Feasting Hobbit will be an 11/11, and we have an 8/8. And we will go to next turn. And now we have enough mana to run out Motivated Pony. The problem is that we don't actually have much card draw to trigger Takesha's Welcome. We don't have gas. So we're going to play a forest, and then we're going to go to combat, and Sam will make a food. Now we have 2 foods, and now we can run out Motivated Pony in our first, or I'm sorry, we would do this in our first main phase and then make the food. But anyway, so we would get 2 mana, 3 mana, 4 mana, 5 mana to do that. Let's see. So, and then we are ready to go to combat. So then... our creatures, we will tap the creatures to attack, and I think we will go like this. We'll send everything. So we're essentially sending, but then they will be untapped with Motivated Pony, meaning we get essentially just a free untap. So creatures we control will get +3/+3, so this will be a 6/6 with Trample and Haste. This will be a 17/17 Trample, a 14/14 Trample. This will get be a 5/6 with no evasion, and then this will be a 5/7 with no evasion. So then we would go next turn, and then we would then play Lauren, which is great timing because then we would draw a card, and then we would destroy something, and then next turn we would want to tap her to draw a card. So then we would probably play Plains, play Trail of Crumbs, and then make a food, sack a food to draw a card with Trail of Crumbs, and that would reveal the top 2, and then we would put Delighted Halfling into our hand, and that would go on the bottom, and then we would draw a card off to Keisha's, and then it just keeps going. We would then return a permanent card from our graveyard to our hand, which we don't have, but maybe something was destroyed that we could return to our hand. So then, we would do the same thing with Motivated Pony, making another food, which we could tap for mana, and so we could kind of see how this spirals and snowballs. So I think there we would have had lethal by turn 8 or turn 9-ish. We definitely had enough to sort of take out one opponent with that initial swing with Motivated Pony. And then let's just see what our next 3 cards were. More card draw to keep powering us out. I think this would be good for, what if our opponents had scary stuff, and then we had another overrun effect, which would be good. I will note, though, if we did have our creatures get removed there, it would have been tough. If we got board wiped, that would have been tough to come back from, because we don't have a lot of creature presence kind of here. But we would have had Takesha's Welcome probably remain on the field because it's an enchantment, so kind of diversifying your permanent types. All right, let's do one more Goldfish here. We'll make sure that we are still getting a dominant board state by about turn 8. We have 1 land and 2 lands, technically, with Eagles of the North. So let's try to play this out. Normally, I would mulligan this. I think that's fair, but let's just play this out just to see what we get. Okay, so we'll go Temple Garden, enters untapped, and then we will cycle Eagles of the North to search for a Savannah. Put that into our hand, which we don't have to discard. Then we would go next. Then we would go Savannah into a 2-drop, which I don't think we have actually. So we would have no turn to play. Then we would go next. Then we would go, well, I guess I could drop a Nykthos. I think we have to drop Nykthos as a colorless land. We would have enough colors to pay for Sam or any 3-drop in our hand. So let's see. What do we need the food that Sam generates? I think let's see. Enters the battlefield, create a food token. When you create a token, put a wound counter on target creature you control other than Rosie. All right. So I think, well, next turn we definitely want to play a 4 mana worth of cards if we can. So that would be Assemble the Entmoot. And we definitely need Sam on the field for that. So I think what we actually do is we save Samwise Gamgee and Rosie Cotton. We definitely want to run those out earlier. The question is, I think we don't need the food from Sam quite yet, but I want an extra trigger off of Rosie. I mean, it's not like it matters a ton because it's just a 1/1 counter. So I think we go Sam. We go Sam. And then I think that's it. I think we just go next. So we need to draw more cards because we're going to miss a land drop this turn. Man. And then Sam would have made a food, so we're going to make a food. Okay, so this will give us beasts. I think we have to drop Lauren to start drawing cards. I think we have to. So let's drop Lauren because we're kind of out of options. We're sort of forced into a corner here. And then we go next. And we still have not drawn a land, so that's good. So we're going to tap Rosie to draw a card. And we're going to target an opponent who is not ahead. So we have now drawn a land which we can play. So now we have 4 mana to work with. What I would like to do is really drop Samwise. No, I think what we do is actually we drop Rosie Cotton and then we might. No. We'll drop Rosie, so she'll make a food. And then we'll put a 1/1 counter on probably Lauren or something like that. And then Sam will make a food in our combat phase. And then we will go next because I think we're out of mana. We can potentially pop a food for life. So let's just assume that we have to do that. Our life tool is being pressured. I think that's fair. We will go next. All right, let's tap Lauren to draw another card. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Boy, we would have had to. No, wait, no. We would not have had to discard. The tough thing is, okay, let me organize these. So Assemble the Entmoot is 4. Of Herbs is 3. 3 Blind Mice. Samwise is cheap. This is 5. Okay. So we're not hitting our land drops, which kind of sucks. We're kind of feeling the effects of the lack of a mulligan when we started out. So we kind of knew that we were going to find ourselves in this position, but we have plenty of ways to generate board presence. You know what I should have done? I think I should have played City of Death earlier to generate the treasure tokens because that would have triggered Rosie as well. But I think the card draw in retrospect. So last turn, I think instead of playing Rosie, we should have played City of Death. So, it is what it is. Let's just play City of Death this turn. We will make a treasure. And Rosie will trigger. She will make something big. And then we will make another food with Sam in combat. So now we actually have 2 mana to play with. I think we then run out in our second Well, no, but we want to keep the treasure to start making copies of it. So I think we have to we have to hold that mana up, unfortunately. Yep. And then we would discard, at this point in the game, we would probably discard, actually, all of these are pretty good. Assemble the Entmoot can generate, probably Killer Service, because we don't need the tokens, and let's see, we would probably also discard of Herbs and Stewed Rabbit, because it's a little bit too slow. Okay, so then we can play, in turn 7, we can play 3 Blind Mice to try to stabilize to get us to generate a treasure next turn again, but we will have a trigger off of City of Death to make another treasure. We will target the treasure to be the copy. Rosy Cotton will trigger. We'll put something on there. We'll tap Lauren to draw a card. Damn. Really missing those land drops there. 5/6. Okay, so 6 mana. I would like to play 3 Blind Mice if we can, because unfortunately we're still trying to stabilize. It's not really worth it to drop Feasting Hobbit yet, although we can generate some threats, or at least a big blocker if we wanted. I'd really like to play 3 Blind Mice, but it fits in the curve bizarrely because we have 6 mana and it costs 3. So I think what we want to do is actually drop it anyway, consuming 3 of our lands, and then we will drop a Samwise Gamgee, because then we can return of Herbs and Stewed Rabbit back to our hand potentially. Let's see, sack 3 foods. That's actually not a bad plan either. The only thing is I'm saving the foods for Feasting Hobbit or Assemble the Entmoot. Okay. Yeah, let's go Sam. Let's see. So we'll then make a mouse off of 3 Blind Mice. Okay. We are actually kind of ready to overrun those. So 3 Blind Mice, and then Samwise is going to cost a treasure and tapping that. Okay. So now we're all accounted for. So then I think next turn we actually go off hard, and turn 9 will be pretty crazy. So let's see. So we triggered Rosie again. And then if we go, so Sam will make a food. I forget if I already made a food here for 1 second. Maybe. So we'll just assume we already did. We'll go next for the turn. Okay, so 3 Blind Mice will trigger. We'll make a copy of the treasure, and then we'll make a copy of the treasure again for City of Death. So we have 3 mana. We're going to tap Reflecting Pool to put Wild Growth onto Nykthos. And I just realized Nykthos could have tapped for 2, 3, 4. Well, okay, it wasn't mana positive before. Now it's mana positive. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So Nykthos can generate us. Pay 2 to generate 5. So 3 white mana. Shoot. I did not account for that last turn. So we'll slap Wild Growth onto the Savannah. Nykthos, we're going to go ahead and tap. Oh, but we can save up additional mana to tap it for more mana later. In fact, Sarah's Emissary would be absolutely bomb. Sarah's Emissary is at a discount now because of Nykthos. So I think what we do, we try to explode as much as possible. So how much do we have? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 before we actually tap Nykthos. So, boy, that's 1 short of Sarah's Emissary, isn't it? Oh, no. 1, 2. Let's see. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That sucks, because we could have played Sarah's Emissary and then tapped Nykthos for a buttload of white mana. Okay. So then this is a setup turn for some capitalization, I think, next turn. So I think what we do, if we run out, we do the next best thing by playing a Crested Sunmare. So if we go, we definitely need to save a treasure, right? So we go 1, 2, 3, popping 2 treasures. We play Crested Sunmare. Oh no, I'm gonna need to make the mana. I was trying to hold the mana up to then crack foods with Sam to then make the 5/5s, but I just realized we need the treasures around. We need the treasures around because I cannot give up my last treasure. Okay, so let's back this up a second. Crested Mare, Sunmare still in our hand. I wanted to add to our White Devotion to tap Nykthos for more, but I don't think we can do that because we need to hold, because Nykthos will happen all at once, so the most we can make is a 5/5? Okay, so let's, oh man, okay, so sequencing is important with this. The amount of life you gained. We could set up with Blossoming Bog Beast. I actually like this Crested Sunmare plan better, maybe? Okay, so can we generate 10? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because I'm not going to use that one. So we have 5, right? So then if we tap Nykthos for a net of 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I think that would... Oh, no, because I need mana to tap the Nykthos. Okay, so we're guaranteed to tap Nykthos for 3. So we're going to assume that Nykthos has to tap for 3. 1, 2, so that would be... Oh, so we're mana neutral with Nykthos. We're mana neutral with Nykthos. No, wait. I'm doing my math wrong here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Our devotion is 5, right? So if we pay 2, tap this, we've made 5 mana out of tapping 3 lands, or, lands counting wild growth. So we need to think of Nykthos as netting us 2 mana. Okay, so Nykthos nets 2. Now, what can we do with that? If we... 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so we have 7 to play with, right? So I think what we do is we run out Sarah's Emissary as a defensive and offensive play, using the 2 treasures, right? So that will net us 5 here. 6, 7. Hold on. So we need a treasure back. So we consume one of the treasures. So now we have Sarah's Emissary on the field. Samwise will trigger. We'll make a food. Now we have 1 mana up. 1 mana up to crack a food if we need to. Also, I guess we can tap Lauren. Maybe we won't. Okay, so then we're in combat. Rosie will have triggered off of the making of the food. Unfortunately, we can't crack the Samwise to return a Saga to her hand. And then I think we go... Oh, look, did I make the treasures off of City of Death? And 3 Blind Mice... Okay, so I think 3 Blind Mice would have triggered... I think it's on page 4 now. Boy, this is getting complicated. City of Death is still triggering, so I think this would have been on our 4. So these would have had Vigilance. So I think that would reinforce our choice to play Sarah's Emissary, because I I think we've already used up chapters 2 and 3, so then we would be on 4. So all these would have vigilance, so then we would swing in vigilance, Sarah's emissary, they can't be blocked by creatures. Then we would go next turn. This would trigger for another treasure, and we would have used, probably would have used a treasure. Then this goes to the graveyard, and then I think we would then, Ancient Tomb, hell yeah, dude. Then we would probably just play, we could either play Displaced Dinosaurs, Assemble the Entmoot, a Blossoming Bog Beast, or all of the above, even playing a Crested Mare to generate a bunch of 5/5 the next turn, but we definitely would have had a threat that would have had to have been removed with Sarah's Emissary on the field, and if we didn't win in this turn, this current turn, then we would have played maybe Blossoming Bog Beast for this turn, so that next turn we can crack a bunch of foods, gain a bunch of life. But I think we would have had, because Nicholas would have tapped for an additional 3. So this would have been 5, 6, 7, 8. So we would have 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 mana to play with. So we would have cast Blossoming Bog Beast, Crested Sunmare, Feasting Hobbit, and then 1 on turn 10. So that, I think, is a good example of what this deck is able to do. Again, this deck is meant to hang around the 6-ish power level. I would say between 5 and 6, maybe, you know, a little bit of a flexible margin of error there. But yeah, again, dominant board state on average by about turn 8. So the downside there is that you'll notice, again, in that last Goldfishing session, I did not interact with my opponents nearly as much because I'm just spending so much time trying to generate this value engine in order to be able to alpha swing to close out the game. So that is kind of the weakness of the deck. It is what it is. But anyway, that is the video, guys. Hope you enjoyed. Leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe if you want more videos like this. And hopefully I will see you all in the next one.